We're going on Wattpad.
Don't know much about history. Don't know much biology.
Okay, but who did the hair better? Me or Ducky? It was me. We're gonna go on Wattpad. I didn't want to just keep it like Beetle Smut, Queen Smut, so I'm gonna pick out a couple one-shots I think we're all gonna enjoy. But since I am like God's girl, I will be substituting certain words for others. But without further ado, Ted Bundy x Jeffrey Dahmer. This is a trigger warning, by the way. But before we get into it, because I know you guys really want to hear this, if you have like any one-shots you want me to read, send a link in the comments and I'll pick the best ones for like a part 2. But let's read this. It's called Endgame Ted Bundy x Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's by you know those TikTokers that get sponsored by Bang and like it's so obvious because in every video they annoy the crap out of me, but it's by 3MOLORD. I think they're trying to say Malord, 3 Malord. I don't know, but their profile picture is Jeffrey Dahmer, and it says, okay, well, I don't think I'm gonna read the whole thing. Okay, Jeff's POV. I had just moved into my apartment. My grandma kicked me out. She had noticed the smell. The apartment 213 was empty. I don't know how I would fix this. I need to feel at home. I needed to be completely relaxed for what I was planning on doing. I needed to be normal. All I had was my bag with my clothes and other useful stuff, but I was short on money. I had almost paid with everything I owned for this apartment, and I was left with $40. I needed a job. A short knock could be heard on the door. I turned around, and the newspaper was thrown in. Perfect. I went to grab it, and I checked the side where the ads were usually placed, and there were a lot of different opportunities. I think I spelled opportunities wrong, and I think I found the perfect one. Third person POV. Jeffrey locked his apartment door before walking out. He checked the out-cut paper for the address. It was pretty close to where he lived. As he was walking, someone bumped into him. He heard a quick sorry before the person rushed from the place. Jeffrey was confused, but he didn't let some stranger destroy his perfect day. He fixed his shirt before walking into the downtown. Where does this get spicy? Okay, so I'm not reading this whole thing, because, no. So I skipped like 4 chapters until I got to chapter 6, because it's titled Hookup, and I don't feel like, reading 4 chapters for it to not get spicy. So, okay. Pictures of Jeffrey's apartment at the bottom. Wait, is that like an author's note?
What? What the fuck?
Ugh. Wattpad's community guidelines allow this? Okay, anyways. Just POV. When Ted and I got to my apartment, we sat down on my couch. I had finally got everything I needed, and I feel like I could be at home, finally. I think he liked how it looked. He kept looking around and nodding his head. Maybe he could move in one day. Not again, Jeff. Nice apartment, Ted said. I thanked him and we continued to sit on the couch. What should we do? He asked. I can play some music. That was more like a question, but Ted agreed and I pulled out my record player and started to play some Black Sabbath. I don't think they had Black Sabbath in the 70s. Early 70s, late 60s. Oh, okay. Since it was the only LPs I had. We continued to sit in silence, listening to the song, but suddenly I could feel a hand on my thigh. I looked down to see Ted's hand there. I blushed and looked away as he brought his hand closer to my fat pee-pee. We looked deeply into each other's eyes. We got closer and suddenly we started to kiss. I got on top of Ted as we made out. I unbuttoned his shirt and took it off. I did the same with mine. Ted moaned into our kiss, and that turned me on. He pulled my he put his hand down my pants and made my he put his hands down my pants and my pee had He put his hands down my pants and my pee made a little jump from his touch. I hadn't done this in a while. I put my hands on his throat so I could feel the vibrations from his moans. You like that, you little... I don't know how... You little... I whispered in Ted's ear, and his eyes rolled back into his head. Do me already, he yelled, and I smirked. Unknown POV. A new guy had moved in recently. He was very good at keeping it down, well, until now. Do me already, I could hear someone yell from apartment 213. What the heck is he doing? Okay, chapter 7, Ghosted. How did we ghost? Whoa, why is Richard Ramirez in here? I think that's the end of the smut. That was not satisfactory. Of course I'm gonna read a Beatles one because I've never got more comments ever to do a video with a Beatles Wattpad. So this one is called Bring Your Daughter to Work. Ready to go, honey? My stepdad George asks me. I nod, finishing putting my jacket on as we walk out the door. He's taking me to the studio today to see what he does all day. I mean, he's a Beatle, what? Okay. He starts the car and turns the radio down. It's gonna be a long day, but remember, you wanted to come along. I giggle and roll my eyes playfully. I know, but I've never been to the studio before. It'll be like getting a fun private concert, I say jokingly. I give you private concerts all the time, George says, pretending to be hurt. Yeah, but you're only one of the Beatles, Daddy. I say as one girl sees George and starts chasing us. I admire the busy streets, all the people and places you can see. We pull up to a large fancy building. We're here, George says, getting out. I walk in as he leads... I walk in with him as he leads me to a medium-sized room with a bunch of wires, microphones, and instruments. Paul, John, and Ringo all turn around to face me and George. Hey, Molly, George finally let you out of the house and come with him, Paul says to me. Yeah, I finally get to hang out with the Fab Four, I say jokingly. With those looks, he shouldn't let her out of the house. Have boys swarming in all directions, John says, teasing me. I'm pretty sure this is a George smut. Whoa, Ringo, did you get a new drum set? I asked, cheerful. He smiles and strokes a drum. Sure did, ain't it a beauty? I don't know, Ringo, maybe you should try girls sometime, John says to Ringo, smirking. Alright, guys, we should start setting up, yeah? George calls to them. I've already got my bass hooked up and everything. Maybe I could give Molly a tour, Paul says, looking at George for approval. George nods and walks past him, getting things set up. Paul puts his hand on my back, guiding me out into the hallway. You want to do something a lot more fun than a boring tour? Paul asks me with a grin. Sure, I say, not knowing what he means. Sure. He takes my hand in his, walking towards the door to leave, but stopping before he pushes it open. Don't worry, they won't hurt you, they just get excited, Paul says while gripping my hand tighter and leading me outside. We walk a few feet past the building and a girl spots him screaming. It's Paul McCartney. The other girls see us, chasing after us. Paul looks at me, smiling wide and winking at me. We both need to catch our breaths, so we stop and let them get to us. A few girls swarm Paul, begging for his autograph, so he pulls out a pen and signs random things they have. It's not the only thing he's gonna move. He pulls away from them as we run back into the building, trying desperately to catch our breaths. You should see the amount of girls George gets after him, Paul says hoarsely. For some reason, that sentence made me jealous. Very jealous. Here, I'll buy you a soda, Paul says as I follow him, making me pull out of my thoughts. We walk up to the vending machine, Paul putting in 20 cents for 2 Cokes. I think Cokes would be... Well, I don't know how much Cokes were in the 60s. He hands me one smiling, looking into my eyes. Yes, Paul is the pretty beetle, but I wouldn't mind if he kissed me. Wait. Paul is the pretty beetle. I wouldn't mind if he kissed me, but I doubt he would. He's just a sweet person, but I've always liked John. I promise this is the George one. I take the soda, saying a word of thanks before opening as we walk back to the recording room. I sit down on the couch as Paul goes back to pick up his bass. Hey, Molly, John says, sitting next to me, placing an arm around the back of my couch. So he's open to me, so he's like doing that, and she's okay. My heart quickens and I quickly say hello. We let Ringo have a song on the album this time. You might want to leave the room when we record it. I don't want to make your ears bleed, John says jokingly. I catch George's eye, making my feelings for John seem less important. What did you do? Wait, what did you and Paul do? I know he didn't give you a tour. His hair is too messed up and he's just now catching his breath. John says to me playfully suspicious, as if implying something. Guys, I know I'm that kid that people hope don't get picked to read in front of the class because they'll, not be able to read at all. We went outside teasing the people on the streets. I say leaning closer to John, trying desperately not to look at George again. Macca, that twit. He knew I wanted to do that with you, John says, slightly angry. I giggle and take a sip from my soda. Me and you can always do that later. John looks like he's about to say something, but George cuts in. Hey, John, quit flirting with my daughter and get over here so we can play. John gets up, walking over to his spot, putting his guitar strap over his shoulder. I can't stop getting John's words out of my mind. I can't stop getting George's words out of my mind. Yes, I know he was joking about John flirting with me. They've been best friends since I can remember, but something about it just sticks. I sit more comfortably on the sofa watching all of them play so perfectly. I look at George and how his guitar lays so perfectly against his crotch. I quickly look away as he smiles at me. The hours pass so quickly I barely even remember them starting, and somehow they're all putting their instruments away. Ringo, if you touch my bass again, I'm gonna knock you one, Paul says half teasingly, half serious. I stand up stretching, making me feel amazing from not moving for hours. So how'd you like it, Ringo says, standing next to me. I loved it, you were all amazing, I say cheerfully. Hey, do you want us to give you an autograph, Ringo says, looking back at me. If someone doesn't kiss in the next couple minutes, I nod. Do you want us to give you an autograph, Ringo says back to me. I nod, never even thinking about that. Ringo walks away and comes back with a Sharpie and a photo of all of them. He signs it, then passes it to Paul. Then Paul to John, then John to George, until George hands it to me. Thanks, I say, admiring it, having my mind set on framing it when I get home. Well, lads, me and Molly are gonna head out, George says to them, cracking his fingers. Aw, sad to see you go, love, Paul says, patting me on... Oh, sad to see you go, love, Paul says, patting me on the back. Come here, John says, while putting me into a hug. He breaks the hug with Ringo turning towards me, playfully punching my jaw. See you next time. Oh, and try not to make your friends too jealous. Trust me, my friends are plenty jealous of me, I think, but smile and nod at Ringo. George puts a hand on my back, gently pushing me forward as we walk out of the room. So, you glad you came over, he asks me, getting into the car. I nod, buckling my seatbelt. It was really fun. Do you think I could come again? I ask hopefully. George looks at me, making me very self-aware, and laughs. You really want to come again tomorrow? Of course I do, I say, reddening. Reddening where? He turns the key in the ignition, driving away from the building. Then I guess the boys will have an audience again tomorrow. The entire drive home, I try my best to not stare at George. Why am I feeling this way all of a sudden? I just wish it would stop. Hey, Dad, I ask quietly. I think it's pronounced Hey Jude, but what's up? He says, gritting to himself. Do you think I'm pretty? This is where it's gonna get spicy. Do you think I'm pretty? I ask nervously. He looks at me suspiciously, then looks back at the road. Of course I think you're pretty, we all do. I leave it at that and let silence take over the rest of the ride. We arrive home after getting out of the car. I walk alongside George as we walk into the house. He stops me when we enter. Molly, what's wrong? You've been off ever since the studio. Did John say something to you? If he did, I'm really gonna... I cut him off, not wanting to get John into this. No, Daddy, John was nothing but nice to me. It's you. His expression softens, then turns into worry. He takes my hand and guides me to the couch sitting next to me. Me? Oh, baby, I'm sorry. What did I do? I place my hand on his knee, making his eyebrows raise. I just stopped trying to talk and go for it and kiss him. I can't wait any longer. He pulls back from me after a few seconds. Honey, George says mildly, sadly. I feel all too many things at once, and instead of saying something, a tear forms. I get up running to my room, not sure what I even expected to happen. Immediately after I shut my door, George comes in, sitting next to me on my bed. Don't think I didn't see you eyeing me at the studio, and don't think I don't know about your feelings towards John. You used to get all nervous when he would talk to you, let alone hug you. But this time your attention stayed on me. George says, wiping the tear off my cheek. How long is this? Of course I picked like the longest stupid smut in this. Okay. Oh my god, where'd it go? Ooh. He continues talking, inching himself closer towards me. I've tried to deny these feelings for you for a while now. You couldn't tell, but behind my guitar I was painfully erect because of you. I shift my body, fully facing him, planting my lips on his once again. I put my hand on his pee-pee, massaging it through his pants, already feeling it grow from my touch. And the things you do to me by calling me daddy on the daily, he moans, his lips brushing against mine. He pushes me down, laying on top of me, putting his hands under my shirt, letting them wander up to my boobs, grasping them. Do you like it when daddy touches you like this? George whispers in my ear, slowly grinding against me. I nod my head, yes. I nod my head, yes, too lost in the feeling to say anything. I reach my hands down into his pants, pumping his, wanting him to be inside me so badly, I can't stand it. Eager little thing, he says to me before getting, I don't know if I can go on. Eager little thing, he says to me before getting up, undressing as I do the same. I lay back down, spreading my legs, toying. He sits down, pulling me into his lap. He rubs against my lower stomach, making me want him so much worse. I start peppering his chest with kissing and sucking on his nipple. This is so funny. Milkshake. Do you mind? Oh my god. Move. Stop.
You ready to fucking die?
No, yeah, I'm a bad bitch. You can't kill me.
He grabs my hips, lifting me up to be placed on his. I line it up with my. Okay, we're skipping that part. If I had known you were this tight, I would have done this a long time ago, he says to me, thrusting upwards. I can't help but become a moaning mess under his touch. Nobody's ever been able to make me feel this. I start up and down on.
What if I was suicidal? What if that was my last straw post?
Milkshake, do you mind? He looks at me with a devilish grin. He turns me on my back against the bed inside of me as fast as he possibly could. If I catch you flirting with Lennon again, I'm going to have to remind you you're mine, not his. I throw my head back, shutting my eyes, feeling like I'm floating. Don't worry, he's a swine, Daddy, I moan out to him. Good girl, he coos to me once again. Skipping that. He jerks his hips forward, hitting a nerve, sending a shiver throughout my body. He hits it again. Faster, Daddy, please. He puts his arms by my head for support. Okay, I'm not reading that. Yes, baby. Okay, so you know, basically, you have no idea how long I've wanted to do that, and then and it ends. I cannot physically say some of the stuff that was written, but we got through it. I don't know how to properly end this video after saying some of that stuff, so